This is day 6 of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and the threat to the Ukrainian capital, well, it is rising by the hour. That is the sound of sirens piercing the empty streets of Kyiv today. New satellite photos give us a better look at the size of the Russian force heading for the city. Maxar, the company that released the images, says it shows a stretch of highway about 100 kilometers northwest of Kyiv. The convoy of armored vehicles is estimated to be more than 60 kilometers long. As it draws closer, Ukraine's second biggest city in the northeast is also under attack. That is the aftermath of what Ukraine's government says was an airstrike on Kharkiv today. It's believed at least 10 people were killed, 20 injured. Ukraine's president says 2 cruise missiles struck the regional government headquarters. He is accusing Russian leaders of war crimes for targeting civilian infrastructure. Freelance reporter Jessica Gallagher is standing by live in Kyiv. Jessica, can you set the scene there in the Ukrainian capital and also describe the fighting elsewhere?
Here in the capital, it is not a good situation. Just a few moments ago, we heard even more air raid sirens. We also have had a lot of missiles in the distance. People are out scrambling today. It's very dark outside. There's been snow. They're trying to collect as many groceries as they can, also go to the apotheka to see if they have the medications that they need. People are also trying to figure out where they can go underground, because a lot of times the subways are full. There are parking garages that are open to people, and essentially these parking garages, or at least many of them, have sandbags set up outside of the garages, and there are guards in front of these sandbags. They say that they're waiting for an impending Russian attack, and that the guards are there to protect the people and also to protect the area from blasts. We're also seeing these sandbags throughout the city today. People are also putting giant X's with masking tape on their windows, and that is an attempt, just in case a missile hits their building or hits nearby, that glass will not go flying everywhere. People are also trying to get as much water as possible. Many stores are running out. Just for example, in a 5-block area where I am, there were several stores that were open that had products like water, also matches. Many of those have closed, and the few stores that are actually open don't have specifically what many people need, like bread, water, things like that. Another thing that I should mention is that a lot of times sandbags are being put in front of critical infrastructure. For example, there's a hospital near me, and the road that is leading to where they have a massive water tank is being blocked by these sandbags. There are guards near the sandbags in an attempt to keep the Russians from hitting the area. Also, there are a lot more forces on the streets that we've seen from the beginning. On Thursday, very few Ukrainian forces can be seen. Now we see a lot of armed Ukrainian forces and also a lot of these so-called local neighborhood defenders. And what they are is they've essentially given their passport. They go to a local government building, get a weapon, get very little training, and they hit the streets. And because of these defenders, they have really beefed up Ukraine's street fighting. There has been, as we can see here in Kharkiv, a massive missile strike at a government building in the middle of a square. At least 20 people could have been killed. We know for a fact it's at least 10 that have perished there. And the argument from Ukraine is that Russia is not making the gains that it thought it would have made, not only in Kyiv, but also throughout the country in Kharkiv, the second largest city. So they're resorting to tactics that are not approved by war. For example, there are accusations that Russia has used cluster bombs and also vacuum bombs. And essentially vacuum bombs are bombs that are dropped and they use oxygen in the surrounding air to make the blast last longer.
And Jessica, Ukrainian President Zelensky made a stirring speech to the European Parliament today. He hopes to convince them to admit his country to the bloc. What did he say?
He essentially, as you mentioned, the speech was very passionate, and he said that Ukraine had done everything that they needed to do in order to become a part of the European Union, but he also needed the European Union to accept Ukraine. Here he is.
We have proven our strength. We have proven that, as at a minimum, we are exactly the same as you are. So do prove that you are with us. Do prove that you will not let us go. Do prove that you indeed are Europeans. And then life will win over death, and light will win over darkness. Glory be to Ukraine.
That Zelensky is receiving a standing round of ovation there from European Union members. Essentially, Zelensky has been arguing that this is not a war, an attack on just Ukraine, but it's an attack on the rest of the world. Volodymyr Zelensky had signed a paper officially asking to be recognized by the EU. And the hope is that if Ukraine becomes a member of the EU, there will be more assistance. Not to say that there hasn't been a lot of support for Ukraine. There are sanctions that are being levied against Russia that are tantamount to the big master of sanctions, if you will. But Ukraine keeps saying that they need more help and they need EU membership. Otherwise, this war could spread elsewhere.
We will talk again. You stay safe. That's freelance reporter Jessica Gallagher in Kyiv.